Do 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 ba da ba dum bum 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 ba dum bum ba ba da ba da ba dum bum bum ba dum boo boo doo ba da ba dum bum 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 ba dum bum ba 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 da ba dum bum bum ba dum. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's edition of Posto Nation. We're on take two because take one was being attacked by the Baizuo Brigades. The Baizuo Brigades. We'll talk to you about that a little bit. So early on in all of this, I was the first person to talk about Wuhan virus, the first person to call to put them out and to let people know what was going on, to tell the truth, right? 9 days later, the president of the United States did shut down flights from China. I then decided that it was time to teach you all a new term, and that was called Wu Mao. And that term was the Wu Mao Army. So do you guys all know at this point what the Wu Mao Army is? Do you understand what is the Wu Mao? What are Wu Maos? How does the Wu Mao Army work? Right? And the Wu Mao Army, they're the 57th Army. They are the people who are set up, paid, not bots, right? They are actual trolls paid by the Chinese Communist Party to go onto Western media and attack them. Right? They started doing this in Taiwan, and that is how the information came out about them being Wu Maos, and the information they're paid 50 cents per post. That's what Wu Mao means, right? So a lot of this came out in Taiwan, and a lot of this information has been known to people in the China Watcher community. It's just not information that was known to a wider Western audience, and so that's why I've known what Wu Maos are for going back 10 years, and so now it just wasn't really it was not relevant to anything that was going on. So now are they like Yang Gang? No, they're not like Yang Gang. Be interesting to see Yang Gang versus the Wu Maos, though. I think they would give the Wu Maos a run for their money, though. To an extent, they're not really that hard to beat. But the Wu Maos have been failing, and we've beat the Wu Maos very hard, and they haven't been able to get the job done. So China uses full spectrum combat in their information operations. When they use their full spectrum operations, not only are they using their diplomatic corps to spread misinformation, saying that the virus came from America, they're also now getting actual Baizuo brigades to come out. Baizuo Brigades. So this is a new term that I'm going to have to teach you guys. And the term, I know it's a little hard to say. I know it might sound a little hard because it's not really a sound that we have in English, that we use in English. Zuo, Baizuo, Baizuo. It's not zoo, it's Zuo, Baizuo, Baizuo Brigades. Everybody got that? Say it with me now. And I'm trying very hard to make it easier to say. Baizuo. Baizuo. Bai is in white. Someone just asked. That is correct. Very good. Very good. Very good. Bai is in white. In Chinese, it would sound more like Baizuo, 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 Baizuo. But I'm just trying to say it in English. So I'm saying Baizuo, Baizuo. So the Baizuo Brigades, what they are, and here's what's going on, and this is what we're seeing. If you go look at CGTN, you can go look at the National Pulse, has started to do an investigation of this. And folks, I hate to say it, but it's true. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news at times, but I've always made a pledge that I'm going to tell the truth. And I will always tell the truth. And regardless of, where it lies, I'm always going to give it to you straight. So what is a Baizuo? Baizuo, that's right. Baizuo literally means white left. White liberal, for example, means white liberal. And what they've done now is they're hiring, in some cases, or enlisting and mobilizing white liberals to spread Chinese propaganda through official Chinese mouthpieces, such as CGTN. That's Chinese TV International, right? CGTN is kind of like the RT of China, in a sense, RT International. And so we're finding now, and go look at National Pulse, and they've done a fantastic series. I think they've added 2 of them already, both in the UK, of, in some cases, professors. I actually saw one last week, and I have to go back and write it up, but it was an American. And a lot of these guys are professors, some of them from third-rate universities, places where they've got a professorship or they've got some kind of weak, tenure position, and they've decided to take the side of China against their own countries. They want to take. They are taking the side of China against the West, right? And we're also seeing a resurgence of the West right now, aren't we? I talk about the Anglo Alliance, the Anglosphere, right? And somebody said, Jack, does Anglo mean Anglo-Saxon? No, I'm not Anglo-Saxon myself. I'm Polish, right? No, I'm talking about the English-speaking countries. I'm talking about the Five Eyes, the original idea behind Five Eyes, right? The United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, the Five Eyes, right? These are the countries. These are our buddies. These are our closest allies in the world in terms of the United States. And it is us against China. Okay, it is us against China, and they make no mistake about it. And yet these Baizuo, the white liberals, have, for whatever reason, right? I can't speak to that. I certainly can't speak to that. But what they are doing, right? They are taking the side of Beijing. They are repeating the talking points of Xi Jinping. They are attacking their own countries. Right? And some people say, well, and then so Baizuo, they'll do this. What they'll do is, of course, they'll never say. They're very clever, by the way. They'll never admit that they're working for China, of course, even though they're always only published in Chinese propaganda outlets. But what they'll say is, they'll say, I support the ideals of the international community. I support the ideals of international rights and international freedoms, and the United States and Donald Trump. And you saw what they're going after Bannon this week, and they're going after all right-wing populists. They're going after all right-wing populists, right? And why are they doing that? Because they know that populist nationalists stand in their way. They know that people standing up for their countries, standing up for their borders, standing up for their economies, and you better believe standing up for their faith, is extremely important in this. And make no mistake about it, okay? The Chinese regime is an atheist, godless regime. They want to push that throughout the rest of the world. They are secularists. They are militant atheists. They do not believe. They're saying, you turn around and you say, Jack, why are they, why would they conduct these experiments like this in that lab? Why would they be doing stuff that was, a gain of function? Why would they be breaking international standards, right? Stuff that was banned in other countries. Because there's no ethics. There's no ethics in a godless state. Right? There's nothing to base it on. It's all done in the name of progress. It's all done in the name of advancement, of science itself. Remember, I love science, right? There's no conception for morality. There's no conception for ethics. What there are is cold, hard, details, progress forward. Okay, and so these people have bought into it. The Baizuo have sucked into the Chinese dream. They've been vacuumed up by it, and they've become essentially, we would say radicalized. If you were talking about another group, you'd say radicalized. But they've flipped. They've flipped on their own countries, right? And I don't know how else you put that. I really don't know how else you put that, right? Like, I was talking to Raheem Kassam about this, and Raheem's a Westerner. I'm a Westerner. He's British. I'm American, right? But I don't get, like, I don't feel any resentment or anything when I see him wearing the British flag, and then I wear the American flag, right? These are, like, that's his country, that's my country, right? But could you imagine though, someone being, and just the mentality of it, right? The mentality of it is what gets to me. Having the kind of mentality where you would tear down your own flag, and put something else in its place. Now, of course, it won't be the Chinese flag, right? But it might be an EU flag, it might be a UN flag, WHO flag, for example. And I don't know. There's something deeply ingrained in me from an early age of respect for my country and support for my country and being a patriot. And we do raise children in this country, especially in the United States of America, to love their country. First and foremost, you put your country first, right? God, family, country, in that order, right? And the idea of putting something ahead of that is it's just that's the state of affairs, right? That's the state of affairs. Remember, these are the people that are pushing the decline of America. These are the people that were pushing for American decline at the behest, and they never say it, and that's what kills me. What kills me is they never admit that it's the decline of America and the rise of China. They never finish the sentence, right? They never finish the thought. What's America's declining? Who's rising? If America's declining, who's rising? It's China, right? It's not the British Empire isn't resurgent. The Spanish Empire isn't resurgent. The Mongols aren't going anywhere. No, it's the rise of China, the return of the Chinese Empire. But this time around, instead of the Chinese Empire being spread across all of Asia, their influence throughout all of Asia, their network of vassal states throughout all of Asia, right? This time around, they are trying to make the entire world their vassals. Remember, the name of China in Chinese, 中国, Central Kingdom. The kingdom that is the center of the world. Not just part of Asia, not just part of that region, that hemisphere. No, the entire world. So that is what they call themselves in their own language, right? 中国. And by the way, the people of China, obligatory statement, always welcomed me, always treated me with such great respect. Wonderful, absolutely amazing people. Taught me Chinese, right? A lot of good Danbing, Jianbing, Guotie, and Xiaolongbao. So Shanghai, right? 无字在黑你. If anyone speaks Shanghainese, 无字在黑你. 无字在黑你? 你不无字在黑你. Allah在黑你. But so here's I always treated well by the Chinese, always had great respect for them. It was just wonderful. Beijing Kaoya. Yeah, no. Beijing duck is amazing. It really is good. But I gotta go with my Xiaolongbao. I'm biased. I lived in Shanghai. I was a Shanghai guy, right? And we're at a turning point. Right? We're at a turning point in our world. We're at a turning point for our country. The President of the United States just said this was the biggest attack since Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Right? Donald Trump just said that. coronavirus is the worst attack since Pearl Harbor or 9/11. It could have been stopped at its source in China, but it wasn't. Right? He just said that from the Oval Office. Right? So this isn't Jack Posobiec saying this. This is the wavelength that we're on. And apparently, the president is also on the same wavelength. And good for him. And by the way, Mr. President, if you're watching this video, as you watched a few other of my videos, I very much appreciate you saying that, and appreciate you making this pivot to China and understanding the competition, the great competition that is going on between our nations. I don't even really know if you can call this a Cold War, because we have a body count already, right? With substantial body count, and the world has a body count, and that's key, by the way, because in the Chernobyl incident, yes, it affected a lot of countries, but it was mainly localized to that area, right? You know, Chernobyl which is what is now Ukraine, on the border of Belarus, Poland. But this virus is worldwide. It's absolutely worldwide. And Xi Jinping and the CCP could have stopped it. Could have stopped it right away. And that's why they are getting desperate now. They're lashing out in every direction with their information warfare, their economic warfare, and their kinetic warfare. In a sense, if you consider this virus to be kinetic, it's clearly kinetic, right? And so, deliberate or not, when you're on the receiving end of it, it doesn't really make a difference. And Matthew Pottinger, by the way, and I got to give him credit. Because he had the idea before me. Pottinger got there before me to it. And man, it is not so often where somebody is able to beat Agent Poso when it comes to China, right? It is not every time that happens. But what Pottinger did, and I'm going to give mad props for this, because it was so masterful. And what people don't understand is that the May 4th movement, right? The May 4th movement in China, right? It's very interesting, because the May 4th movement was anti-imperial in the sense that it was the overthrow, or it led to, I should say, the overthrow of the last dynasty, and sort of the push out of the the 8-nation army, right? And what it was seen as the birth of Chinese nationalism, right? It was seen as the May 4th movement. So the May 4th movement was seen as the rise of the new China, the rise of the new China. And what's amazing is that everyone, from the nationalists to the communists, all support the May 4th movement. So it's very interesting to see that even though that the May 4th movement was had to do with, okay, and I'm getting a little. The nationalists to the communists all support the May 4th movement. So it's very interesting to see that even though that the May 4th movement was had to do with, okay, and I'm getting a little deep on this, but what I'm trying to say is that even though the May 4th movement was not done by the communists, because it's so closely tied with Chinese nationalism, that the communists still uphold May 4th and still revere May 4th as a holiday for the Chinese nationalists, and not like the big end, not Chiang Kai-shek or the Kuomintang, but just Chinese nationalism in the aesthetic sense, in the sense of actual Chinese nationalism. And Pottinger was the one who realized that we could turn May 4th into a massive day speaking to Chinese nationalism, but not the nationalism of the CCP, the original nationalism of those Chinese nationalists. And I was like, oh, man, so good. So good. Go if you haven't watched Pottinger's speech yet or read it. Obviously, you know, if you don't speak Mandarin, it would be hard to follow along without the translation. But no, it's look, Agent Poso is a man who gives credit where credit is due. Game recognizes game. Kudos for kudos is due, and all respect to Mr. Pottinger. You got me on that one, man. You have definitely got me on that one. So mad props to you. Mad props to you. Mad props. And I'll always do that, right? I'll always do that. And that's one thing they say, Jack, why do you, or Poso, you know, why do you retweet so many people? Why do you retweet people all the time? Why are you, you know, why are you, why are you retweeting this guy? Why are you retweeting that guy? And I say, you know what? I say, hey, man, I am all about the movement. I'm all about the cause. I'm all about what we're doing. You can tell very quickly. And I've said this, I've always said this, you can tell very quickly that when someone starts getting traction in the movement, that who's in it for the movement and who's in it for themselves. All right. And I had a career before all of this, right? I had a career out of life. I had everything. And it was me coming into this movement because it was the time to do it, right? It was time to do it, right? 2016, right there. Donald Trump, autographed. And, you know, I didn't need to come to this movement. I had a career a long time before this. And, but it was the right thing to do. You know, it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And by the way, you know, the May 4th movement you might call that the 2016 movement in America, because what we did was a rebirth of American nationalism and American patriotism. And it wasn't all just about Donald Trump. And people get that wrong. People absolutely get that wrong, that we like, somebody said to me, you know, a liberal that I know, that I talk to, because I do talk to liberals all the time. I'm a nice guy, by the way. I'm a nice guy. I don't even curse. But, you know, he said, Jack, you revere the president, don't you? You revere him. I said, revere? I don't revere him. No, I appreciate him. And I appreciated him as the leader of the movement. And I appreciate what he's done to change the game, right? And what he's done to change our country and change the conversation. But I'm not in love with the guy, right? I don't worship him, right? I'm Christian, right? Worship God, you know, Jesus Christ, right? It's not. It's just funny that like they have this weird conception of like, no, he's a guy I support, right? And it's not like, you know. And I flip it around and say, like, so when you supported Barack Obama, what was that? I think they're actually telling me something more about themselves than they're telling about me. Anyway, long story here. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I wanted to recap this for a little bit for you guys to say, we need to keep up our pressure on the Wu Mao army. We've been winning. We're definitely winning the meme war against China. So China is taking it a step further. They've lost the meme war. We slaughtered them. The meme war. We absolutely slaughtered them in the meme war. Now they're moving. They're leveling up their game, and they're getting actual Westerners, Americans, Brits, right, to speak out against their own countries. The Baizuo Brigades. I'm not going to be mad if anyone says Baizuo. The Baizuo Brigades or the Baizuo Brigades. I won't be mad if you pronounce it that way. That's fine. I'm not going to be angrily texting you because I always text like Raheem and Jason when they rarely, if I have a difference of opinion on how something should be pronounced. 就是因为普通话的话是很精确的，而且如果你是想讲普通话很流利的，你应该的口音是要正确的口音，对吧？这就是为什么你的中文要说得好，你好好学习我们的学生，好不好？ Just talking about pronunciation. At the end, I said, you need to learn well, students. You need to learn well, my students. And so, people say, oh, how do I learn Mandarin? No, I would definitely say Rosetta Stone is awesome if you're just trying to get started. I never had Duolingo when I was learning Chinese. I was going to like I went to a community college that was near my house in Pennsylvania for about I would just go on Saturday mornings. I would take Chinese 101 in community college, and then sort of like in a non-credit program, right? I just wanted the classes, so I paid for that, and I went Saturday mornings. Then when I lived in China, I was in an intensive language course there. And then when I got out, and then I was doing Mandarin work, linguist work for the military. Um, there's an ILI in Washington D.C. So anybody who if you're in DC, I would highly recommend the International Language Institute ILI. It's really awesome. It's kind of no frills, but they get right down to business in terms of in terms of language. And so I thought, no, what did I do? I learned it the hard way, right? I learned it the hard way. I didn't have apps and programs and all these different things. I learned it the hard way. I went to class, the language classes, and then I lived there for 2 years, right? How did I learn? Yeah, how do you learn a language, right? It's called busting your butt. And look, is there a curve for it? Learning the characters, absolutely, yeah, no question. There's a strong high curve for when you're learning the characters. The pronunciation is actually not that hard if you just put some time to it. I think that the characters are the hardest part. So the reading and writing is a lot harder than the speaking. Speaking is not so bad. It's really not that bad. They have less sounds in their language than we do. But I would definitely suggest that, look, if you want to do it, just go for it. And you've got to go all in. You got to go all in. That's all I got to say. You got to go all in on it. You cannot. Yeah, I can read and write Mandarin. Text too. And when you go all in, did I dream in Chinese while living in China? Yes, absolutely. You can't go halfway into this. Can't go halfway. Am I from DC? No, I'm from Philadelphia. So you got to go all in. Got to go all in. Put in the time to learn the characters. Put in the time to learn the sounds. Watching Chinese movies. I watched American TV shows with Chinese subtitles to help me with my reading and writing. And then I would watch Chinese movies with English. And I found it a way to watch Chinese movies with English and Chinese subtitles to be able to sort of decipher, which went where. And that just helps you with like phraseology, but that's more of at an intermediate level, right? At the beginner level, you need to put in the introductory work before you can start doing those kinds of tricks. But I just put in a lot of time, spent years of my life doing it, about 15 years of my life now at this point. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. That's all I got. Someone just asked, did I eat dog when I was in China? Not knowingly. There's certainly some times, look, when you're eating street food in China, I don't know, right? There's times where like, I don't know what exactly is on that stick. So I never knowingly ate dog while I was in China. So best I can do. But did I always verify what I was eating? Not so much. Did I ever work with Mike Pillsbury? No, I didn't actually. I just know him reputationally. I have a feeling that that we'll probably be working together soon, though. Feeling that we'll probably be working together soon. I did have frog when I was there. Scorpion, snake, ostrich, panda. No, kidding. On that. Beijing duck. Yeah, of course, Beijing duck. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. No bat. Though we're starting to hear now that it's starting to look like that bat was it's kind of a propaganda campaign that wasn't real. Anyway, got to run. A lot to do today. Check out One American News. I've got an interview today with Aaron Perini. Aaron Perini is coming on to talk about Biden and the double standards about his scandal with versus the Brett Kavanaugh situation. Definitely going to also be talking to her about later in the week about the economy, reopening the economy, restarting the economy. I think restarting is a better word. I don't think that reopening is the right word because it's a new start, right? It's a new start. A lot has changed, so it's a new start. It's restarting the economy, and it's really going to be hard for anyone to campaign against Donald Trump on that because let's face it. I mean, he's the the businessman in chief, right? Like this is the one thing where it's kind of been hard for people to, for people to hit him on, even from the left. And a lot of independents, I think, give him a lot of credit on his economic work, right? And the numbers, pre-coronavirus numbers speak for themselves. And then tomorrow, I'm trying to put together, I think we're going to do an interview with Dr. Taylor Marshall from Texas regarding the Catholic vote and what's going to happen with the Catholic vote going forward, because of course Donald Trump is running against a Catholic, right? Joe Biden is Catholic. However, how Catholic is Joe Biden? Interesting question, right? So we're going to talk to Dr. Taylor Marshall all about that. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, you have my permission to lay ashore.